So, tonight's meeting is being streamed on sandwichtv.org and broadcast on local channel 9. The meeting will be available on their YouTube channel and website tomorrow. That's my preamble for that. The agenda that I sent to you all and that got posted to the town's agenda center got cut off. So I will file an amended agenda tomorrow morning. But there was like all sorts of nice visuals in there with some details. So you were missing the second page. So one of the reasons I want the screen is to show those visuals during this meeting tonight. It's not like we were trying to hide anything from anybody. It's just, I guess I sent one page instead of two, so I apologize for that. With that out of the way, we have several meeting minutes to approve, going all the way back to April. I connected with John Scott, who formerly took care of the minutes for us, and sent them to you all last week. Hopefully you've had a chance to review. I think we have to vote on these individually rather than as a block because varying states of attendance to some of those meetings. I'm going to trust you all to just vote on the meetings you attended and abstain on the meetings that you didn't. But I will entertain motions, starting with our most recent meeting and working backwards.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as submitted for the September 16th.
That's correct.
2024 meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll say approved unanimously.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for the August 19th, 2024 meeting.
We have a second. Thank you. Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved unanimously.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for the June 17th, 2024 meeting.
Second that? All right. Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Two more to go.
I'll make a motion that we approve minutes for the May 13th, 2024 meeting.
All right. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye. And finally,
I'll make a motion that we approve the April 8th, 2024 meeting.
second on that? Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. So that should bring us up to date on the town's website. I will send those approvals to the town clerk's office tomorrow. Obviously, the town clerk is very busy right now with election stuff, so whether they get posted to the website may be a few days, but that will bring us up to date, and we'll stay more timely from this point on. Public comment. Anybody wishing to speak for public comment? Okay. Then moving on to our ongoing business, and we'll start with the Service Road Shared Use Path update, where there has been some work and progress since we last met. So Sam, could you lead us off on that?
Sure. You may have noticed there was quite a bit of paving that was done. It's not complete, but it's getting there. It looks fantastic. Pavement markings are in. There's still work that's ongoing with landscaping. There's quite a bit of lawn work and plantings that has been completed, but there is still some that needs to be done. The Hawk hybrid signal that was mast arm foundations are installed. They are waiting for that to cure, and I expect that that installation will happen in the coming weeks at some point. I don't have the exact details as to when, but then so that signal will go across Quaker Meeting House Road. So it's all in all looking very good, coming together.
Looked like there was still some work on the Round Hill lot to be completed as well.
That parking lot is striped, and
Oh, really? Okay, great. I was there Friday, so. Super. Questions on that or additional questions for Sam? On the service road canal connection update, Sam, Paul, and I, and Steve Rhodes appeared before the selectmen on the 26th. We had originally thought we were going on the 19th, but they didn't meet on the 19th, so we showed up when they met on the 26th. I linked in the agenda to the presentation and the recording, so hopefully you had a chance to review that. I would say that the board is engaged and asks questions and continues to want to hear about the project. So aside from that, Sam, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I would just encourage you all just to talk to folks about it, let people know. We're just trying to heighten the awareness of the project in general. And if there's any technical questions about it, please direct them to me at the engineering department. I'd be more than happy to talk with anybody that has any questions on it. At this point, we're really just looking to inform the public as to about the project and what we're doing and the direction that we're going with it, so that everyone has a chance to engage in dialogue.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments on that? Okay, let's get to the meat of the matter. So the crosswalks data, since we last met, plotted all of them on a map that I shared with all of you, and then added the latitude and longitude to this spreadsheet, so that at least that data is recorded. There's a couple of things I want to note about the spreadsheet itself. I believe, if I remember correctly, that some of these that are in yellow, I updated the naming from what was there originally, so that I think this one, I can't remember if it was somehow reversed, that it was across Tupper Road at Merchant Road, but I was trying to keep it all consistent. So that's what some of those changes in yellow are. The ones in red, it was unclear to me what was referenced there, and whether one actually exists that matches that description. And we can go into the map and take a look at that for this particular one at the Grist Mill and the Thornton Burgess Museum. There weren't too many of those. And then at the very bottom are these green ones, which are ones that I added to the list. So those were not previously documented. What I did not add, because I noticed it this morning when I went to the grocery store, is there's a number of crosswalks in the Stop and Shop parking lot. But given that that's more, I think, private property than public property, I didn't add those. I wanted you to know what all those different colors meant, number one. And number two is the map, which I will zoom out on first. And actually, I did a visual in the agenda where I think there are some natural groupings for us to kind of divide up the list, geographically speaking, to then go make some other observations that we'll record in the spreadsheet. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. Maybe now I'm making it too big. But there's obviously there's the Marina District. I guess I'll call it the Marina District. I don't know if that's what it's actually called. Where there's a grouping of them. There's a grouping of them in the village itself that extends from roughly Tupper Road, Chipman Road, and Morse Road, all along 6A, and in the village itself on Main Street and Jarvis Street. There's East Sandwich, which a lot of that is Quaker Meeting House north of the service road, and a few that are out by Riverview and Sandy Neck. There is Quaker Meeting House south of the service road and Mill Road, where there's a grouping of them. here. There's obviously our triangle of Katuitt, 130, and Quaker. That is also, I think, a natural grouping. And then there's Forestdale, extending out to Snake Pond and a little further south on 130. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different areas where I think geographically it makes sense to split these up.
Is that on what you, like you said, that's the page that didn't get
Yes.
disseminated out? So it shows, because I saw the map before that had like just all the blue dots. but
Yeah.
not the-
Yeah, so I added these circles. This is a static image of that map that I shared with you.
And I'm sorry, what was the yellow color for?
Where I've changed the naming that from what we received originally. So when we turn this back over to Sam and the GIS guy whose name escapes me at the moment, Eli, we'll try to get that updated in the layer or in the database.
In the file that I just saw the longitude and latitude, but I didn't see that information there. Is that on the spreadsheet now? Do you have to be something that out, because it's the only one that I saw, just had longitude and latitude.
It's a spreadsheet that's got these first 2 columns, the first 3 columns frozen. So you can scroll back and forth on the right. So the data was all there. Maybe it's not, you didn't see it all, depending.
I thought it went up and down.
It does.
I just saw the longitude and latitude, but not.
Yeah, I haven't filled in anything. The location 1 and location 2 was the original source file. And everything from latitude and longitude off to the right are columns that I added for our upcoming observations. And those were the things that we, besides latitude and longitude, vegetation, curb cuts, color, width, nearby signage, quality, those are the observations that we'll add after we've gone out and visited.
And that's what was on the minutes.
Yes. Mhm.
Is the spreadsheet ordered similar to your groupings, or?
No, not necessarily. Because I basically just kept the numbering system the way it was to match with the data that exists today. And then I added the new ones at the bottom with new numbers. I will say that the numbers here correspond with how I put them in here. So crosswalk 1, Ed Moffett Drive at Gallo Road. Crosswalk number 1, Ed Moffett Drive at Gallo Road. So when you're looking at the map, this ties back to the sheet. All entered individually. They're not actually connected, but it was a way for me to be able to cross-reference the two. So I want to just zoom in real quick, and maybe Sam, you can help us here on downtown Sandwich. This one, Water Street, I guessed was Water Street to the grist mill, but it's not actually at the grist mill. It's more at Dunbar. So it wasn't clear to me whether that was the one that was referenced in the original data as the grist mill. What number was that?
We don't know what
28.
the source of that original data was.
Okay.
It may have come from the state or some other entity.
I could not detect one for Water Street to Thornton Burgess.
Maybe they were thinking more about the school street.
Yeah, which was on the list. Water Street at School Street. Okay, so I wasn't crazy then, which is good news. Okay.
Some of those are on state layout and some are on federal property.
Federal property.
U.S. Army Corps.
Right, okay, yep. So, in looking at School Street, for example, crosswalk 30, Water Street at School Street, the naming convention is that the crosswalk crosses the street and then the at is the locator. And there are sometimes multiple. So if I go back to, it's a good example here, or Route 6A. There's Route 6A at Jarvis Street. Oh, I'm sorry, Main Street at Jarvis Street, which is crosswalk 114, and then crosswalk 115 is also Main Street at Jarvis Street. So I've done the latitude and longitude in the spreadsheet to differentiate between the two. So hopefully it's less confusing. Questions on any of that? Took a little more time than I thought it would. But it was, I think it was time well spent. I thought to get the visual representation of, where the groupings were was helpful, at least it was to me. So I would like to, by our next meeting, and we'll talk about our next meeting here towards the end, have folks pick an area, go visit them, make as many observations as you can. The one thing I think that will be challenging for us as laymen is width. I suppose we could bring a tape measure out there, but are we measuring?
Inside edge to inside edge.
That's the question, okay. All right, so then that's the width
That's the marked width of the crosswalk.
that you're looking for. Okay, great.
Should be uniform. If it's not, perhaps they could make a note of that in the
Sure.
comment section.
Yep.
Could be some occasions where they're not.
Okay, meaning one end is wider than the other?
Right.
Okay, got it. So just so we're clear, let's revisit what we talked about last meeting. I think we're looking for a vegetation observation. Does vegetation need to be cut back? What are the sight lines? You might say needs maintenance is fine. We want to keep the data simple, as simple as we can. Curb cuts, whether or not yes or no there are curb cuts. We know there's one in particular where there's not. But any others that we find that have been modified in some way that we need to note that. The color, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. The width, Sam just helped us with. Is there a sign leading up to the crosswalk in both directions? So the answer, the data point could be both, or one way or something like that. And the quality, some kind of quality assessment. It's faded, it's fine, it's okay, or whatever. And then come back and we'll review that at our next meeting.
Is it worth taking a picture of the area, of the crosswalk itself?
I think so. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to tie that in. But yeah, sure, if you're able. We can put a library together and hand it off to Eli and let him decide what he wants to do with it, if anything.
On that end, we often use Street View.
Okay.
Street View is updated on the main roads on a somewhat regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Are we including the new service road crossings?
We should.
Have an oscillation.
You did, okay. I don't think those are included in my new ones because I was going off of aerial Street View to make sure that we hadn't missed any. So any that we want to add, I would just add it to the bottom. The next number in sequence, service road, and then the at wherever it is. I think it'd be good to have those in this list too. So whoever's doing that service road piece would be the one to do that. I, for one, am happy to take either the village or the marina. I'll say marina for myself as a volunteer. And do you guys have preferences as to what you would like to take?
Village or?
Okay. I thought so. I thought it makes sense. Okay.
Louise Sam? Oh, he got it. All right.
Could you do, Peter, Quaker and Mill?
Sure.
And Daryl, could you do Katuitt?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. No problem. I didn't know the name.
Right, okay. Great. So can you just note for the notes who's doing what too? So I'm going to do the marina. Linda, you're taking the village. Brian, East Sandwich. Peter, I called it Oak Ridge, but basically Quaker and Mill. And Daryl, you'll do South Sandwich, Katuitt, Quaker, 130 Triangle. And then Jonathan, you'll take Forestdale. That'd be great.
I'm just curious, were there any new sidewalks put on the Route 130 when they did the intersection there at the, or would they just upgrade the existing crosswalk areas?
Crosswalks, they were existing crosswalks.
So they just upgraded them?
Yeah, I took a look at that when I was mapping those. Is that it there?
I'm sorry, this is kind of jumping back, but on the service road, you said there's something going in at Quaker Meeting House, some sort of signal?
A signal, yes, it's a hybrid signal, so it's not a standard traffic signal. It's known by the acronym of a hawk, so it's an actual push button actuator. It'll be dark when it's not in use, and then when the pedestrian actuates it, it'll flash a warning and then go to solid red, at which time traffic is supposed to stop. The stop bar is Quaker Meeting House.
Okay, good. Yeah, I did notice you had to kind of get your nose out into the crosswalk to be able to have the sight line for the southbound traffic.
Yeah, that's just a function of geometry.
Yeah.
And so there is actually a new crosswalk there, I believe.
There is a new one across there.
So we'll want to mark that as new on the list. And I can add the point on the map after.
2 new crosswalks.
Oh, two, right,
There's 2?
Yeah, I believe all 4 quadrants will have.
Oh, they do, okay. And then same down at Chase Road too, right? I think there's
There's two,
there's one going across Service Road and then,
the other one going across Chase.
yeah. But they're not there now, so we'll need to add those.
We'll get to work.
I think they also have the flashers up too.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, yeah.
That's definitely new since I was there last week, for sure.
RRFBs, rectangular rapid flashing beacons.
Yeah.
So RRFBs, not that that's much easier to say. But on that note, I have something to share.
Sure.
It's related to crosswalks, but we've done.
Okay. I think I had the part of the agenda that got cut off. I think I wanted to talk about that. But, or maybe not. Maybe I didn't. So, other questions? Okay. Bike racks. I don't know if,
Before we move on from the crosswalks.
yes.
On that.
Go ahead.
On that agenda item.
Yep.
So we have 3 crosswalks on Katuitt Road that are currently targeted for funding through the MassDOT Vulnerable Road Users at Transit Stop program.
Mhm.
All right, and so MassDOT has given us an initial approval to take that on, those 3 locations for crossing improvements there. All right,
Okay.
so just keep that in mind. Since the last Bikeways meeting, there's been a relatively quick grant opportunity that we responded to through MassDOT for RRFBs, rectangular rapid flashing beacons, at crosswalk locations. MassDOT set some stringent criteria for that that's consistent with federal guidelines. And so we went through, the timing on it was released basically right at the last meeting. And then it was due on October 10th. So we had to just quickly turn it around. So staff reviewed crosswalk locations in town. We identified 4 locations and then submitted on that. As part of it, it requires that ADA and accessibility, Architectural Access Board so that somewhat limited the pool for what we could select from. But ultimately, we ended up submitting an application for a crosswalk on Water Street between the Wing School and Cook Farm. And DPW has committed to, if it were funded, to upgrading the treatments on both sides, bringing it in conformance. Quaker Meeting House Road at Oak Crest Cove, at the driveway there, we have a crosswalk, so this would be an RFB assembly, similar to what's at the skate park, installed there. And then 2 locations on Snake Pond Road, near Snake Pond Beach. At Deer Hollow Road, there's an existing crosswalk, and then at Country Farm
Okay.
Road. So just keep that in mind. So there's like tentative improvements that may be coming down the pipeline at those locations.
That's great. Do you know when we might hear about whether we received the grant?
They said within a couple of months. They gave us an initial approval.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's subject to further review, and as part of their review, they're going to do actual observed speed study. I believe they're getting assistance with the Cape Cod Commission on that. They have some criteria where it'll help them prioritize, MassDOT prioritize how they proceed with their awards. So there'll be more information coming at some point.
That's great.
So we still document them the way they are now, when we go over and take a look at them, because if those upgrades happen at a later date, then the database would be upgraded to reflect that.
Ideally, sure. Yeah. But that's great progress. Thank you. Anybody other questions on crosswalks before we move on? Okay. Bike racks, I wasn't actually expecting an update. I just wanted to keep it front of mind as far as the other grant opportunity we might have.
Well, we're aware that it has a relatively short turnaround on it. So we've explored the idea of repurposing the bike racks at the Oak Ridge School. The condition of the racks, I think, would make that a somewhat impractical idea.
Okay.
They're installed, they're in-ground with posts that are embedded in concrete. There's some corrosion on them. I think it's unlikely they come out in one piece in a condition that we really want to put out in front of the Council on Aging.
Okay.
So what we're working on is actually get new racks for the council, the CAL, and then the basketball courts like you talked about on
Okay.
Morse Road.
Should we still pursue replacing the Oak Ridge racks?
I want to get a sense for whether there's a need for that. They may just need some maintenance.
Okay.
Where they are, if they're not going to be dislodged from the ground,
Yeah.
transported, they may be fine.
Okay.
So that's something I'll just need more information from the school department on.
Okay. And same for Forestdale too. Okay. Anybody questions, comments on that? So for the Center for Active Living, we're just going to find funding within our budget for that?
That's the idea.
Okay.
So I've spoken with Guy Boucher,
Yep.
and he's optimistic he may be able to find some funding on that. I don't see the definite on it.
Okay. That'd be great.
Because they have an interest in getting those out.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for that update. 4-foot passing signs, additional locations, any updates there?
No, nothing new at this meeting.
Okay.
There are a number of signs out. I don't know if you've noticed.
I've noticed them not only in Sandwich, but I was driving through Mashpee and Falmouth on Sunday and saw quite a number. They're definitely out there.
Yeah.
But yes, I've noticed the ones in Sandwich, for sure.
I don't know if they're all installed. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and check. I know at least one got hit and needs to be replaced.
Great.
Yeah.
That sign did not get a 4-foot passing zone. Vision Zero outreach meeting is scheduled for November 21st at the Center for Active Living, starting at 6 p.m. This is one in a series of meetings that is part of the whole Vision Service Action Plan project that the Cape Cod Commission is leading, and I'm serving on the advisory committee. This is basically the Upper Cape meeting. They're doing one Mid-Cape, and they're doing one on the Lower Cape. This will dovetail with the next meeting item. Originally, if we were to meet on the third Monday of the month, we'd be meeting on November 18th. But that also is the special town meeting night, which we don't want to conflict with. If we were to try to meet the prior week, it's a holiday. So I think I'd like to just put our focus on trying to attend the Vision Zero meeting, because I think it's worthwhile to have your participation in that meeting, number one. But number two, I don't want to stack the calendar with too much in November, because there's already a number of conflicts. So that's why I'm proposing our next meeting here would be our December meeting, looking at December 16th, which I think is the third Monday of that month. So that's why I'm proposing we don't have a meeting in November. There's just too many things to try to work around. So if you can attend the Vision Zero meeting, please do. I will be there with both my sandwich hat on and my Vision Zero hat on. So, but the more participation we can have from the committee, the better. Please. Finally, there was a new business item in the part of the agenda that you did not receive, and there was an attachment, and so I will send that around. But there's been a proposal to do a youth bike riding area at Oak Ridge. Basically, if you recall, when some of the Maple Swamp proposals were made, there was going to be a skills track or a pump track as part of that, and the Conservation Commission was reluctant to allow NEMBA to bring in any material to do that, because they wanted to preserve the sanctity, I can't think of a better word right now, of it being a conservation area, a natural area. They didn't want man-made materials brought in. Hopefully I'm summarizing that properly. So NEMBA has been looking for another location, and I know, Peter, you've been also scouting around for different locations. So NEMBA has settled on a piece of property that is adjacent to one of the new trails they put in recently. I think it's Mighty Oaks is the name of the trail. It runs behind what's now the school administration building, but what was the Council on Aging building, and connects to the trail network that's over behind the church. So downhill from that is a little sort of hollow where there's been some dumping going on, and it seems conducive to installing a pump track. So they have met with Kevin Seralt, our former chairman here, but now on the school committee, and to just discuss feasibility, and it will be an agenda item for the school committee at some point coming up soon. So I just want you to be aware of it. If you'd like to voice your support for it or any opinion you have of it, there will be an opportunity to do so. And so I had attached to the agenda that sort of draft proposal, so you'll receive that tonight. Okay? And that was everything that was on the missing part of the agenda. Does anybody have anything else to add? Okay. I'll seek a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.